Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a first year PhD student at UCL. And my research focused on traceability in the facade sector in UK. So my supervisor is Abdu, and the second Professor Tim Broad. So my research combines three main points: that it's traceability system, facade building product, and blockchain. So what is traceability? Traceability, it's we use this word a lot, but actually the definition is not consensus. It differs between like different industries, and even like in construction, the definition is not very clear. But for my research, I'm considering traceability as the ability to describe the product and follow all the product life cycle from origins through development and specifications to its subsequent deployment and use. This is one of the most used definition. So why researching traceability? So I've been working in the construction industry for 20 years now, and we have some challenge with like complex supply chain, because we have different manufacturers, we have different stakeholders, and our industry, it's highly fragmented. It means we have different people that it's providing inputs at the same time, and not always they are connected. So it's decentralized as well. And we have some challenge with lack of clarity on the origin of the product and the information of the product itself. Through the product life cycle, this information just disappear, or stakeholders like architects and consultants, they some of them don't have even clear information of those. Just to give a little bit perspective, UK has up to 2/3 of construction product being unregulated. Again, like construction, it's a massive industry with like product in construction. It's like furniture and to like cladding, concrete. So it's a massive industry that it's really hard to put this in one box. The challenge what we are facing now in the UK adds to the transition post Brexit. So we used to follow like European standards, and now we are creating our own. So all in terms of product labeling and product testing as well. So we are doing this transitioning now. But UK has been passing for a massive challenge, and the standards are changing massively, especially in the last 6 years after Grenfell. Grenfell disaster was that results in 72 deaths. After that, an inquiry has been started, not even finished yet. But so far we know that this happened due to poor practice in the supply chain, like competencies as well, like lack of clarity, transparency into products, but it's more than that as well. But in terms of traceability and product traceability, is this mainly what has been raised in the inquiry. And another big point for that has been raised is the inappropriate use of products, because we have like individual products, but when they assembly, they perform differently in terms of fire, in terms of thermal, and even like structurally perspective. So this has been noticed that inappropriate use has been assembly and specified. So, but why researching traceability in facade sector? So cladding typically accounts 15 to 30% of construction cost, but it can be even higher when we're talking about like bespoke design or refurbishment that we usually don't know about the product that has been used at that time. Our O&Ms, it's very poor. Facade determine the useful life of the building, as this usually determines the service like comfort, energy use, and quality of the internal space. Cladding is the greatest cause of premature building failure, as we mentioned, because the whole impact that the product has in the building. Supply chain, it's complex, so it's project specific products demand. So we have several different components that they're produced by different manufacturers that you need all to assemble in another manufacturer, and they are tested separately. And a lot of times we have like a system that it's not fully tested. It's sometimes used the desktop approach. And by 2021, more than £4 billion its funding was announced for the removal of unsafe cladding in the UK. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the ACM situation. So UK is asking to not use ACM anymore, like the previous ACM. Now you have different products in the industry, but not just ACM, but combustible insulation in high-rise buildings. So the whole country now it's reviewing the design and replacing the combustible materials in high-rise building. And one of the main points I think sometimes we don't consider is the trust in the industry. I think after that, community lost the trust in industry, and they don't feel safe in their own home. And why blockchain? My research actually started with traceability. As I'm working in the industry for a while now, I can see all this difference and all these new standards coming to life. And traceability always been a problem there, especially like information-wise. Architects don't know about the product, if they can use or not the product. They cannot specify the product for a facade. And reading through blockchain, I see that it's a massive potential for traceability in this industry. Because it's basically open, secure, and immutable. One of the issues we have in Greenfield was like lack of honesty from one of the manufacturer that they test the product in another country, but they didn't show this test in the UK. So they test again in a lower standards, and so there are some questions in terms like if the product should have been used in the first place, if the test was shown that time. Another thing is the characteristic of blockchain of being decentralized, that the information could be distributed through stakeholders, specifiers, decision makers, and this could not be changed or erased. So that's the most potential of the technology for facade supply chain. But every time we talk about traceability and we talk about the technology, I see we have like the potential, we understand the potential of those, especially like traceability in another industry like food and aerospace, that's well developed. They are already using blockchain to trace the product. But every time we talk about technology and all this stuff, I think sometimes in high level, for me that I'm not the technology background, so I think the requirements are most of the time not clear. So that's what I'm focused on my research now. It's to determine the requirements, because we don't have just requirements From the technology, we have requirements from the government, we have requirements for standards, we have from the decision makers. So that's why I'm stepping back a little bit and trying to understand the requirements for facade products in the UK, so we can design the blockchain system in a better way, especially because we have different technology that it's including through the product life cycle. We have ERPs, we have a bin, we have other technologies that I will go through. Again, construction, traceability in construction, it's very immature. So I had to go to visit other industry to understand how they're doing. And the most well-developed industry in terms of traceability and technology, it's food and aerospace. But when we talk about traceability, we also need to understand what they want to trace and why they want to trace. And when we talk going through like individual industry, you see that they have different perspective and aims. For example, food, they prioritize consumer safety, so they must to prevent health risks, and also they need to have a rapid, very fast product recalls. Food is one of the industry that put most recalls, so it must to be very fast. Aerospace, it's also like to ensure like preventing counterfeiter parts. That's something they face, and so this is something the traceability helps them to eliminate this, and also facilitating fast issue resolutions. They even have like real life traceability for main parts like turbines and something like that. But like I mentioned, construction, it's immature, it's running really behind on those. We don't have standards for traceability. And now that we are transitioning, like after this Brexit, we are introducing UCAS marking, but we're still using CE. I think they were postponed. It should be this year, but next year we're still using CE, still allowed to use. But another measures that have been discussed and starting to be placed is the NERCP. That it's a department just to deal with product testing and how those are being tested, by whom, and the information that has been spread to the stakeholders. All of this make part of the Building Safety Act that start 2022 and is fully in place this April. Again, let's talk about the requirements. Food, the requirements are very clear. For example, in Europe, they say food must be traced from farm to fork, and that's very clear, and the industry is very developed on that. Aerospace, they also like each part of aerospace, they have a unique ID, so can be traced from manufacturer to the final use, even when to the waste, how to destinate the parts that they cannot be used. And all the tasks must be done by gateways as well. So it's very well known and traced. Construction, we have BSI standards that is still improving on the product part. And they have the BSI Universal Persistent Identification Number. This is pretty new as well. They're still being developed, and they are not very spread in the industry yet. On the technology part, just to have an idea, like RFID is very well developed in food, aviation, and construction. Barcode, QR code as well. It's very we are very familiar with those. Biological, it's very used for food, and chemical is very used for aviation, especially for the main parts that if you have a disaster, it needs to be identified. BAME, we used BAME. International things, aviation's using a lot of that, and digital twin as well. Benefits and challenge for facade products. It's the transparency. I think we could build a trust again if within the community, higher speed. So once the stakeholders and the decision makers have the information and the correct information, they can define the product for their project. Continuity of the information, that's the massive problem now in this industry, although now we do have the golden thread. That's another measure in UK to keep the information. The information is still fragmented. We still don't have the truth, the continuous flow. Also like operational efficiency as well. So because we have the information transparency, even like this can track the energy consumption. But the challenge, I think we have skepticism. Construction is always the last one to adapt to technology, high cost, lack of sharing commercially sensitive information. Our industries too struggle to open information, especially when they have like competitiveness itself. Incorrect information. We need, of course, like that's my exercise now with the requirements to understand the incorrect information, also identify the stakeholders and the flow of the information. And another challenge is energy consumption, that some researchers are exploring those in terms of comparison, that although we do have some high energy consumption, this could be compared to the consumption of like having like other tools being like fragmentedly used. So that's something we could consider. So the next step, so I'm a first year, so next step will be map the stakeholders in the facade industry in UK, also map the supply chain process and tools, and then like carry out the interview with industry technology experts. So yeah, thank you.